do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indie Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indie Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indie's Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indie Sports Ticket. Everyone head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me and watch the show there. You can obviously listen on that Indie Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. You can listen to not only my show, but also the Dan Dockett Show every day from noon to 3. And I am back from vacation, had a really good vacation, went on a cruise. First time I'd ever been on one, and had just an absolute blast. I will say, though, I did miss not all of, but some of the food that you get when you're on land and not on water. One of those things was Zaxby's. Freaking love Zaxby's, okay? And when ordinary chicken just won't cut it, Zaxby's delivers a flavor experience that speaks louder than words. That's why we've got a sweet deal just for you going on right now, this Friday. Excuse me, not right now, this Friday. Get $50 in gift certificates for only $25 at indiesportsticket.com. That's indiesportsticket.com, and click on the Sweet Deals tab. Offer available only for Wesleyan Road, Indianapolis, Avon, and Canby locations. Now, let's get into the sports. You know, like on Wednesday this last week was finally when it hit me. It was like, man, like I wish I was doing a show today, because I have takes come to me all the time. And, you know, while I was on the cruise, I read quite a bit, just because, you know, when you're waiting to lose at trivia, you just kind of sit there. So you drink something and you read. That's what I did, at least. And I was thinking about the Colts, and not even just the Colts, really just the NFL in general, all the different divisions. We've got training camps starting up this week. The Colts, they start their training camp on Wednesday. So football season is basically here, right? We're going to be talking Colts training camp. We're going to talk about every video that gets posted from the Colts, and we're going to dissect the footwork, and it's going to be terrible until the games start. And then it's going to get worse, because the Colts are going to be a really bad football team this year. That's where I've landed. I think the Colts are going to be bad. If I had to bet the over-under on 7.5 games, I would bet the under. I think that as of today, they are the third best team in the AFC South. Okay, the Texans are definitely better than the Indianapolis Colts. The Texans are the best team in the division, no question about it. Okay, they have what I think is going to be the best defense in the division. They've got the best head coach in the division in DeMeco Ryans, and they've got the best quarterback in the division in C.J. Stroud. No matter what you think about C.J. Stroud, he is the best quarterback in this division. The other team that I expect to be better than the Indianapolis Colts is the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is the second year in a row that I'm doing this. Last year, it did not go very well for me. But there's a new head coach, and they bring in Travis Hunter, and, the Colts got worse. I think that the Colts are going to be worse. Okay, and when you look at the quarterback position, because that is always the most important position on the field, it is undoubtedly in favor of Jacksonville when you compare the Colts to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think that I have to explain why Trevor Lawrence is undoubtedly better than Anthony Richardson, right? But he's also better than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is terrible. There's really just no other way to put it. Okay? Like, he's really, really bad. And when you look at Trevor Lawrence, the best years of his career are really good. Like he's thrown for, over the first 4 seasons of his career. He's thrown for 4,000 yards in a season twice, thrown for over 20 touchdowns in a season twice. He had a 25 touchdown, 8 interception season his second year in the league. Like, the best version of Trevor Lawrence is significantly better than the best version of Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, in 6 years in the NFL, has thrown for 4,000 yards 0 times. He's thrown for 3,000 yards twice, as many times as Trevor Lawrence has thrown for 4,000 yards twice. Okay, Daniel Jones has only had 1 season in his career where he threw 20 touchdown passes. That was his rookie season when he went 3-9 as a starter. The 1 year that the Giants were okay with Daniel Jones as the starting quarterback, they went 9-6-1. Daniel Jones threw 15 touchdown passes that season. It was a lot of let's give the ball to Saquon Barkley, and instead of throwing the football with Daniel Jones, let's run him. Trevor Lawrence, head and shoulders better than any option that the Colts have playing quarterback for them this season. Simple as that. Also, the floor, a little higher as well. And then when you look at the rosters just in general, this Jaguars roster is better than the Colts roster. It is like this Colts roster. I don't know. It's a lot of meh. It's a lot of meh. It's okay. That's what it is. And then the Jags, there's like legitimately good players on the roster. And when you go position by position, the Jaguars are better in a lot of them. Trevor Lawrence, better quarterback. I will hear no argument on that whatsoever. Now, is Jonathan Taylor the better of the running backs, between the Colts and the Jags? Sure, but the Jags still have really good running backs. They have more running back depth between Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. For the Colts, obviously, Jonathan Taylor, best running back, but like Khalil Herbert's not better than Tank Bigsby or Travis Etienne. No question there. And then you look at receivers. Brian Thomas Jr. as a rookie was awesome last year for Jacksonville. Already better than Michael Pittman Jr. or Josh Downs or Alec Pierce, whichever one of the very average receivers you want to throw out there for the Colts. None of them are better than Brian Thomas Jr. Okay, the other receiver, Travis Hunter, he's probably going to be pretty good pretty quickly. Okay, so the Jags have the best receiver between both teams. But if you want to say that the Colts have a little bit more depth, then okay, that's fine. Tight end, they don't have much there. Brenton Strange, you don't know who that is. Okay, Tyler Warren, we'll see. Probably going to be better than Brenton Strange, though. And then you look at the offensive line. The Colts had legitimately one of the bottom 10 offensive lines in the NFL last year. Shout out to Anthony Richardson for using his athleticism to evade a lot of the pressure and a lot of the sacks. But the offensive line for the Colts last year, not good. Bottom 10 in pressures. It's not a good offensive line. Okay, the Jags, I don't know how their offensive line could be worse than what the Colts have. Simple as that. And then you go to the defensive side of the football, and this is where I like Jacksonville more than the Colts. The Colts have 0 proven pass rushers. 0. Jaguars have 2. Josh Hines-Allen has consistently been one of the better pass rushers in the NFL for quite some time now. Quite some time. Last year, where'd it go? Last year, 8 sacks. That's a Kwity Paye season. That's a bad season for Josh Hines-Allen. Okay. 2023, he had 17 and a half sacks. Like, this is a guy who can really get after the quarterback whenever he needs to. And he should, right? Because he's a former number 7 overall pick. Okay. And then you look on the other side, you've got Travon Walker, former number 1 overall pick. A guy who can get after the quarterback. He had 10 and a half sacks last season. The Colts had 0 guys on their roster last year who logged double-digit sacks. Okay, and then you got guys like Eric Armstead on the inside of that defensive line as well. A little older, but still a pretty solid player, right? And then you can run through linebackers and safeties and all these things. But for every team in the NFL, it starts up front. Like, you have to be able to generate pressure on the quarterback. And I understand that the Colts secondary got significantly better by bringing in Charvarius Ward and bringing in Cam Bynum. 2 great moves that are going to help the defense of the Indianapolis Colts this season. But that being said, they're not going to be able to generate pressure. And you can only cover these elite wide receivers in the NFL for 3 to 4 seconds. And I don't think that that's going to consistently happen. Okay? Now, this lack of a pass rush from the Colts, maybe Lou Anarumo schemes some things up and it kind of helps, the back end of the defense. Maybe that happens. I'm not sold that it's going to happen, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, this Jags roster, I think, is just simply better than the Colts. The other question about Jacksonville, say, well, Jonathan, they have a rookie head coach. Are we sure he's going to be able to come in and elevate Trevor Lawrence and Travis Hunter and all these different things? We have seen time and time again successful offensive coordinators, right? Mike McDaniel going from San Francisco to Miami. He wasn't an offensive coordinator, but he was an offensive-minded head coach. Obviously, there's really popular ones like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and so on and so forth. Doug Peterson, okay, Frank Reich early here in Indy. They show up and they're able to immediately elevate whoever's playing quarterback, right? And that leads to everyone kind of buying in, like, oh, like this guy's a great head coach. Like, Mike McDaniel's the easiest example of this. He shows up in Miami, installs this new system. Tua's throwing the ball all over the field, and it's Tyreek Hill, and it's Jalen Waddle. It's fast, and it's fun. It's like, oh, Mike McDaniel, it's the next great NFL head coach. And then, you get a couple years down the line, and then some problem shows up. Mike McDaniel, not respected enough in the locker room, right? Not firm enough. Guys showing up late to meetings, not good. But that first year was a lot of fun. And he showed up and he elevated that offense immediately. And I think we're going to see Liam Cohen do the exact same thing in Jacksonville. Liam Cohen got paid because he was one of the bright, young, offensive-minded coaches in the NFL. Okay? Liam Cohen just coached Baker Mayfield to the best year of his career. And if he shows up, and if he does that with Trevor Lawrence, which is 1,000% possible because they've got Brian Thomas Jr., because they went out and they drafted Travis Hunter, who's going to play wide receiver and cornerback for them this year, and all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence is back to being a guy who's throwing for 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns and only 8 picks while completing 66% of his passes. Like, if they get that from Trevor Lawrence and they get, a consistent pass rush from those two edge rushers that I mentioned, Josh Hines-Allen and Travon Walker, then the Jaguars are going to be better than the Colts. Simple as that. Because when you look at the Colts, the biggest issue that I have with them is the quarterback position. Okay, like this sport, as you know, is dominated by who is your starting quarterback. And what we've seen from Anthony Richardson, not great. That's a very nice way of me saying that he's been terrible. Daniel Jones, not very good either. Not very good either. His best season, he went 3-9 in terms of his numbers. Like, his best statistical season, he went 3-9. That was his rookie year. Okay, hasn't had a season since where he's thrown 20 touchdown passes. Okay, like, the guy's just simply not very good. And he's probably going to be the starter for the Indianapolis Colts when this next season starts. Okay, he's going to win this job. Because if Shane Steichen's telling the truth, which is possible that he's not, if Shane Steichen is really telling the truth and that he's going to start the guy who's more consistent, like, that's Daniel Jones every day of the week. Because Daniel Jones, he's going to sit back there. He's going to say, oh, like, that's a tight window. Let me not, throw the ball past the first down marker. Instead, let's just, flip it out here to Jonathan Taylor, who's going to pick up 4 yards. And then it's going to be 2nd and 6. And then they're going to run it. And this is, it's going to not be good. But training camp is a great place for Daniel Jones. He's going to look much more comfortable because guys can't get hit, right? You're not asking him to extend plays as often, right? As you will, when preseason game starts and this terrible offensive line continues to not block anybody like they did last year. This Colts team's going to be bad. And I just want you to be ready for it. And it's going to start with Daniel Jones. He's going to be the starter. He's probably going to, he's going to be so bad. It's going to be so frustrating to watch. The Colts are going to start 0-4. And then all the Anthony Richardson haters are going to have nowhere to turn because Daniel Jones wasn't the answer. And then, they'll probably go to Anthony Richardson like week 5 or 6. And, we'll kind of see how things play out from there. But I do think that Daniel Jones is going to be the starter week 1. And if that happens, what happens to Anthony Richardson? Would the Colts trade him? Probably not. But these are all questions that need to be asked, and they will be answered when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
to 17.
Average Amy's. Our coffee has caffeine and our muffins are cooked.
You're not average. Your marketing results shouldn't be either. Cumulus Digital outperforms industry benchmarks by over 25%. Visit cumulusdigital.com to start outperforming today.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching on X __ Jonathan Smith. Maybe you're listening on that Indy Sports Ticket app. Once again, no matter how you're listening, it's greatly, greatly appreciated. I'm back from an amazing vacation, and I'm back in a big way. Today's show is sponsored by Holiday World and Splash and Safari. We're going to give away tickets at around 11:20 today, so make sure you got your phone ready in hand, ready to call the number that I give out at 11:20 when we give away those Holiday World and Splash and Safari tickets. Now, talked about Daniel Jones and how he's not very good. C. Fitch, love C. Fitch, tweeted at me during the break and said that he's going to challenge me on Daniel Jones. He's going to be the comeback player of the year, win the Colts the division if he starts week 1. Then, he talks about how Minshew had his best season under Shane Steichen. Same thing's going to happen with Daniel Jones simply because he's competent and he can throw a 7-yard out route. See, Fitch, I'm going to cut you a break, and if you're like a big-time Daniel Jones believer, I will cut you a break for a very simple reason. The Colts have been really bad, or just not good, not interesting, not fun to watch these last couple of years. And the New York Giants have been, the exact same way. And because of that, they both play in the 1 o'clock time slot every single week. And so while you've been watching the Colts lose, you haven't had the opportunity to watch Daniel Jones and the New York Giants do the exact same thing that the Colts have done, except on a way worse level. Also, Brian Dable, pretty good head coach. Okay, so the people who believe in Daniel Jones, I think you're just desperate, and like I get it. You're doing the fan thing, and that's okay. That's what you should do. That's exactly what you should do because you are a fan. You're gonna slowly talk yourself into Daniel Jones. And you're going to ignore the fact that since his rookie year, he hasn't thrown for 20 touchdowns in a season. That's really bad. In fact, he's averaged less than 1 touchdown pass per game after his rookie season. You're going to ignore the fact that just like Anthony Richardson, this guy gets hurt all the time. He's played one full season through 6 years because he's either gotten benched for Tommy DeVito or he's gotten hurt. Okay? Like he's not the answer. He's not the long-term answer in any way, shape, or form. Okay? He's not. Joe Thomas, Hall of Famer, played offensive tackle in the NFL for a really, really long time. He went on the Rich Eisen show the other day, and he was asked about this quarterback battle between the Indianapolis Colts, between, the two Colts quarterbacks, Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. And he was really asked more of a question of what do the Colts do with Anthony Richardson if Daniel Jones ends up winning the job. Here's what Hall of Famer Joe Thomas had to say.
I think he definitely still has enough potential, and he's a good enough athlete. And I don't think the book has been written on him just yet because there's a team out there that's going to look at him and say, hey, we think he fits a little bit better in the system we're trying to run. Maybe you're going to feature his legs a little bit more and give him an opportunity to kind of work his way into the system that you're running, because there's plenty of teams that don't have that answer at quarterback right now. And he could be a good interim. I mean, if the Browns had an opportunity to have him this offseason in the room, I'm sure they would have added him, right? And have 6 guys or 5 guys in the room, depending on what are you considering Deshaun Watson on the team or not. But, quarterback, it's the most important position in sports. You can never have enough of them. And when you got a guy like Anthony Richardson, who's got that crazy potential and just hasn't been able to tap it yet, has had some problems, undoubtedly, and he's recovering from shoulder surgery, but it's easy to take a flyer on a guy like that. But I don't know if the Colts will be ready to get rid of him, because I think we have seen enough Daniel Jones to know that he's probably not the long-term answer there in Indianapolis. And so really for Anthony Richardson, they may be a little bit down on him right now, but I don't think they're completely out on him. And I think they do want to give him another chance, because you've invested a lot when you pick a guy in the first round. And so I think they still want to make it work if it's possible, even though it's doubtful. So I think they're much more thinking that Daniel Jones is just that stopgap, and Anthony Richardson might get another opportunity at some point this season to get some playing time, no matter what happens with Daniel Jones, because I think they do want to really just give him one more chance before they kind of close the book on his Indianapolis Colts career.
Joe Thomas, Hall of Fame offensive tackle right there, talking about the Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson quarterback battle. What do the Colts do if Daniel Jones wins the job? I think he's right. I don't think that they would trade Anthony Richardson simply because you just wouldn't get enough back. You get back like a 5th round pick. It's like I spent the number 4 overall pick on this guy. He's only 22. He's only 22 years old. Is it really worth giving up this 22-year-old who's still pretty raw and we still think has a lot of potential for a fourth or fifth round pick or whatever it ends up being? The answer is probably not, because you gave up a fourth round or a fourth overall pick to get him. You did. And no one likes giving up on guys that they draft that high this early when they are, in fact, only 22 years old. Okay? And just that whole only 22 years old thing, get ready to hear that time and time again as training camp gets underway. And when Daniel Jones wins that job over Anthony Richardson, trust me, you're going to see it everywhere. Oh, well, don't worry. Anthony Richardson, only 22 years old. Only 22 years old. Right? All that kind of stuff. So, we'll see. C. Fitch chiming in again, saying he thinks that Indy has a better wide receiver core than the Giants had, and Tyler Warren will be the best tight end he's played with. Both fairly good points. Fairly good points. We'll see at the end of the season. I may even draft him in the Dockets Fantasy League. All right, man. I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend drafting anyone else to play quarterback for you, because Daniel Jones. They're going to be so bad this year. If or when he's their starting quarterback. Jeez, like the guy's had a winning season once, and he went 9-6-1 that year. 15 touchdown passes. Jeez, and I get it. Like, he can run a little bit too, but he's not some like crazy playmaker with his legs. Like, he's just not. He's not. And so the biggest issue that I have with Daniel Jones is the fact that he's really just a check down artist. And that's going to be really fun the first couple weeks, because he's going to, like C. Fitch said, he's going to hit Michael Pittman Jr. when he runs an out route. And everyone's going to be like, oh, man, isn't that refreshing? And then the Colts are going to lose like 28-14. Or be like, why didn't they score any points? And the answer is going to be because Daniel Jones never threw the ball past the sticks. That's going to be the answer. But anyway, back to Anthony Richardson and what Joe Thomas had to say about this quarterback battle. I don't think that the Colts would trade Anthony Richardson if he lost the job, because Daniel Jones is a stopgap guy. I think Joe Thomas is exactly right. Daniel Jones is not a long-term answer. We've had 6 seasons worth of Daniel Jones to sit back and watch, and it has been underwhelming to say the least. To say the least. Once again, the best year of Daniel Jones's career came in 2022. That's 3 years ago now. Okay, where he completed 67% of his passes. That's nice. That's a good number. But he only threw for 3,200 yards. That's not very good. He only threw 15 touchdown passes in 16 games. Only five interceptions. That's nice. So he's just a very safe quarterback. That's what he is. Okay, he's not going to take very many risks. And as an NFL quarterback, if you want to win games, you have to be willing to take some risks. And Daniel Jones just doesn't take enough of them. And we've got 6 years worth of data to go back and look at to prove it. 3,200 yards. That's his career high in passing yards for a season. That's not very good. Bench for Tommy DeVito. That's not very good. It's not very good. Jeez Louise. Anyway, back to Anthony Richardson, or really what Joe Thomas had to say. Now, Joe Thomas also, what I found funny just kind of about that whole clip, Joe Thomas talks about Anthony Richardson, how general managers do, and why the Colts would be able to move him if they really wanted to. The question is whether or not they really want to move him or not. Once again, I would bet that they don't, because Chris Ballard spent the 4th overall pick on him. And you know that he wants him to be good. And you know that Shane Steichen is sitting out there at practice every single day, and he's watching Anthony Richardson unleash and throw 70-yard bombs in the air. And while he's doing that, Daniel Jones is throwing checkdowns to Khalil Herbert. And they're sitting there and they're like, man, like if we can just figure it out, like maybe one more offseason where he's healthy, maybe we sit him this year and we get him to really kind of buy into watching, film, and, he learns how to control the line of scrimmage a little bit better. Than, maybe next year, he'll be good to go. The Packers, they're notorious for sitting Aaron Rodgers 3 years before they played him. They're notorious for sitting Jordan Love for 3 years before they played him. Maybe we can do the same thing with Anthony Richardson. Put him on the bench this year. Let him learn behind Daniel Jones. Let him see that it's okay to throw the check down from time to time. From time to time, not all the time, because that's exactly what Daniel Jones is going to do. He's going to throw every check down that he can, and it's going to drive me crazy. But once again, Joe Thomas talks about Anthony Richardson, how general managers do. Like you just look at the dude. It's like, man, like I want that guy on my team just because he looks awesome. And he's blazing fast, and it's all the things that we've said. It's all the things that we've said time and time again about Anthony Richardson. Big, strong, fast, athletic, all of these different things, right? And yeah, like that's great. But at some point, like you've got to be able to, be consistent, right? And I do think that the biggest thing with Anthony Richardson that I do find interesting, going back to last year, Coach Calhoun, who's the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, he's coaching Will Levis, and he gets asked this question. Someone's like, hey, what about, the Will Levis completion percentage, right? From his rookie season, like how do you increase that in year 2? And Coach Calhoun gave a very good answer, or an answer that I found interesting. He talked about how, if he just throws to the check down a little bit more often when nothing's open downfield, then we'll see that number go up. I do think that is something to be considered with Anthony Richardson. And when you look at his passing chart last year, he was over-aggressive. He took too many risks. Okay, like he was consistently trying to throw the football, past the sticks, which on 3rd and 8 late in the game, please, like that's what you need to do. But in the first quarter, when it's, 2nd and 7, I don't need you throwing it 15 yards down the field. So you can hit, throw it in the flat and then, pick up 5 yards and live to see 3rd and 2. Then I love your chances, right? Especially with a guy like Anthony Richardson, who's big and can run, and you got Jonathan Taylor. Like a lot of that stuff kind of checks out. And that is the thing for Anthony Richardson, that if he gets to play this year, that is the thing that I want to see him get better at. It's being a little less aggressive. Like the Colts have 2 quarterbacks who are complete, total opposites of each other. Daniel Jones isn't aggressive enough, and Anthony Richardson is overly aggressive. That is the difference. Okay? That is the difference. Right? So if they could just get him to kind of dial it back a little bit, be a little more willing to hit the check down, throw the ball in the flat. I think Tyler Warren is really going to help with that. Bigger target who can kind of own the middle of the field a little bit more, even though every time Anthony Richardson throws the ball over the middle of the field, it's not great. It's not a great feeling every time he winds up and it's like, oh no, is this going to be late? What is about to happen here? It's not a great feeling, but if he can figure that part of his game out, then I do think that there's a future for Anthony Richardson. The question is just whether or not it's going to be here in Indy, and whether that future is going to be this year. Probably not. Probably going to be Daniel Jones until he gets hurt, because as I said, the dude's gotten hurt every year of his career except for one. And is it going to be in a Colts uniform? That's the question for Anthony Richardson. Once again, we're going to give away Holiday World tickets. The Real Jonathan Smith Show, sponsored by Holiday World and Splash and Safari today. Get down there. Have a great time with your family before it gets too cold. Splash and Safari, fantastic water park. As I said, we're going to be giving away tickets to that coming up at 11:20. So make sure that around that time you've got your phone out and you're ready to dial the number. Certain teams have gone back. Spring training has really started. Okay, spring training. Training camp has started for some teams. Some rookies have reported, some haven't, all that kind of stuff. The Colts will start their training camp on Wednesday. Can't wait for that. It's going to be a ton of fun. Can't wait to see the Colts post all these different videos of Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. And then the Colts fan base is going to go to war over all of those clips. It's going to be really funny. And trust me, I'm going to highlight all of them right here on The Real Jonathan Smith Show. So with training camp starting, I want to give you who I think is going to win every division in the NFL this season, why they're going to win it, and kind of some of the other teams in their division and why those teams may or may not be as good as the team that I have winning that division. So division winners in the NFL when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Dockage at noon. The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Now, this is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Okay, I lied. I am going to give out my NFL division winners, but before I do, I skipped a section here on my show layout sheet. I want to talk about the WNBA. So we had All-Star Weekend here in Indy. Caitlin Clark didn't play. You know, I'm sure people were annoyed by that. And the story coming out of All-Star Weekend is the fact that the All-Stars wore these pay us what they owe us shirts as they warmed up. And this conversation, to me, is really annoying because it's just the exact same one every single time because there are, some people being like, yes, they should make more money. And then there's other people being like, the league brings in negative amount of dollars. They're subsidized by the NBA, right? And all these different things. And, oh, man, I'm really torn on it. I am, because I think both sides are correct. Yes. How can they ask for more money when the league doesn't make a profit? Great question. It's a great point. The other side of this, though, and the side that I think that I lean towards is this one. The value of the league is going up. The viewership is going up. Simple as that. In 2021, the Las Vegas Aces sold for $2 million. Right? Like that's pitiful. Like that is a very, very cheap professional sports franchise. Do you know what the Las Vegas Aces are valued at right now? They're worth somewhere between $290 and $310 million. The league is growing. It is. The Valkyries expansion fee was $50 million 2 years ago. Today, the expansion fee is $250 million. So the value of the league is going up. The owners are making more money. The value of the franchises are increasing. And here come all the Caitlin Clark people saying, it's because of Caitlin Clark. That's great. That's not what this conversation is about. The value of the league is increasing. It is going up. We can see it in how much these professional franchises, these professional WNBA teams are worth now. And if the owners are making more money and if the value of the league is going up and they have a new TV rights deal starting up here, I believe in 2 years, and that's going to be worth more money, then shouldn't the players get paid more? It's a very simple question. Okay? If the value of the league is going up, then why wouldn't the value of the players go up? It should. Simple as that. So, and then I get it. Here come all the profit people. The league loses money every year. To be fair, that is not the WNBA players' problem. It's not. The league is clearly generating more revenue, right? And it's not the WNBA players' issues to worry about the overall sustainability of the league. Like, look, I'm sure, if you like you at your job, like you don't care how much your company makes. You care how much they pay you. That's really all that you care about. Right. And I think it's the exact same thing for them. And once again, if the value of the league is going up, the value of these franchises continue to go up like they're doing, then why wouldn't the players get paid more money? Right. I'm not saying to pay them as much as, the NBA players are making. I don't think they're saying that either. Right. But like Caitlin Clark should make more than $78,000 a year from the WNBA. Right. Like in what other profession, what other sporting world is a player as valuable as Caitlin Clark being paid $78,000? The answer is none. Simple as that. So those are kind of my very brief thoughts on the WNBA and their, request to be paid more money. And I think that they are definitely in the right to ask for a little bit more. Not a lot of bit more, but a little bit more, no doubt. Back to the NFL. Probably going to need 2 segments to run through all of this. By the way, Holiday World sponsoring the show today. We're going to give away tickets coming up at 11:20 to Holiday World and Splash and Safari. So make sure when 11:20 rolls around, you've got your phone out and you're ready to make that phone call. Because once again, we're giving away more tickets to Holiday World and Splash and Safari. Now, the AFC South. Let's start with that. I said it earlier. I think the Colts are the 3rd best team in this division. I think that the Jags have a real pass rush between Hines, Allen, and Walker. Okay, Eric Armstead in that mix as well. Brian Thomas Jr., really good receiver. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is going to have a good year because they just hired Liam Cohen. We have seen time and time again, new offensive-minded head coach. All of a sudden, a quarterback's better. That being said, the Houston Texans are the best team in this division. They got the best coach in the division in DeMeco Ryans, and they've got the best quarterback in the division in C.J. Stroud. Usually, not always, but usually when you have that combination, you win the division. I also really like the talent on defense. Okay, they've got the best head coach, the best quarterback, and what I think is going to be the best defense in this division, again, because they had the best defense in the division last year as well. Will Anderson Jr. had 11 sacks last year in his second season, right? That was 10th in the NFL. Daniil Hunter, he had 12 sacks last year, opposite of Will Anderson Jr. That was tied for 6th. Henry To'oTo'o, in his rookie season playing linebacker for them, he had 104 tackles. As a rookie, he should be better in year 2. Azeez Al-Shaair, all over the field when he plays. Like, I don't know if you remember the 2 games he played against the Colts, but he was around the football all the time. He's been accused of being a dirty player. That's fine. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to talk about how this dude is always around the football. Okay, he only played in 11 games last year, but you can't miss him when he's on the field. The secondary got better. They went out and they added C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who just won the Super Bowl with the Eagles last year playing safety. Derek Stingley Jr., former 3rd overall pick, has emerged as one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL. Last year, he had 5 interceptions. That was tied for 6th in the NFL. Okay, he's finally kind of turned into what everyone thought he was going to be when the Houston Texans drafted him. Okay, they are solid at all 3 levels of their defense with 2 guys that can really get after the passer. Now, if you want to say, well, Jonathan, the reason why the Houston Texans won't win the division is because ... The answer would be the offensive line, because their offensive line has major questions. They have completely revamped the offensive line because it was bad last year. Caleb Williams was sacked more than any other quarterback in the NFL. C.J. Stroud, second most. He was sacked 59 times last year. Okay, the question is the offensive line. They bring in Cam Robinson, who's going to be their starting left tackle. Good left tackle, not a great one, but he's a good one. Spent a lot of time in Jacksonville, got traded to Minnesota. Minnesota let him walk, and then the Houston Texans went out and they grabbed him. Right, like that is a good option at left tackle. Okay, that is an upgrade over the performance that they got from Laramie Tunsil last year. The issue is it's Cam Robinson's first year in Houston, and this is going to be a theme. Laken Tomlinson is going to be their starting left guard. It's his first year in Houston. This is his 4th team that he's played on in the last 6 years. Been hopping around a little bit. Jake Andrews is going to be their starting center. He was a 4th-round pick by the New England Patriots in 2023. Didn't play last year due to a knee injury. The Patriots were like, we're good. And then Houston went out and they grabbed him. So the guy hadn't played football in a year, and it's also his first year in Houston, and he's projected to be their starting center. Titus Howard is going to play right guard for them. Right now, he's been in Houston his entire career, right? So this isn't some new arrival. The issue is 5 of the 6 years he's been in the NFL, he's played tackle. He hasn't had to play offensive guard in 4 years. Okay, going to be interesting. Blake Fisher is going to play right tackle. He was Titus Howard's backup at right tackle last year. I mean, like, there's just a lot of questions on that offensive line. If it works, then the Texans are going to be, I think, a really good football team. If it doesn't, then it's going to be another year of C.J. Stroud running for his life and the Texans leaning on that defense to get stops to allow them to win football games. And that defense is more than good enough to do that. They are going to win that division. They're going to win the AFC South. I don't think there's any sort of question about it. I don't think anyone would argue with me. They're better than the Colts. They're better than the Jaguars, and they're definitely better than the Tennessee Titans. Right? They're the only team that looks competent in a division filled with incompetent teams. The Colts probably going to win like 7 games. The Jags, I think they're going to win like 8 or 9 games, and then you got the Titans, who are probably going to win like 6 games. It's a bad division. The Texans just happen to be the best team in this bad division. Staying in the AFC East is bad. The Dolphins are getting worse. Trading away Jalen Ramsey, bringing in an aging Minkah Fitzpatrick. Okay, like the Bills are clearly going to win this division. I don't think there's any question about it whatsoever. Okay, the Dolphins, as I said, slowly getting worse. Right, they'll win some games though, just because they're going to score points with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Tua and that offense. The Jets and Patriots, I think they're both headed in the right direction. New head coach in New York. They extended some good, important players last week. Right, so they're headed in the right direction. Justin Fields, we'll see if he's any good or not. The Patriots, I think they're headed in the right direction as well. Drake May, I think, is going to be really good at some point. Mike Vrabel, really good head coach. They're headed in the right direction. The issue is they don't have the talent to match Buffalo. Buffalo is going to be really good again. Josh Allen might win MVP for the second year in a row, right? But at the end of the day, he's by far the best quarterback in that division. The head coach, solid option. They're going to be able to run the football with James Cook. The receivers, doesn't matter. Like when you have a great quarterback, you don't need outstanding receivers. The Colts need outstanding receivers, right? Because they're going to have Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson playing quarterback. All right, so we'll see kind of how it turns out in the AFC East, but I think we all know that Buffalo is going to run away with that division. Question for them isn't are they going to win the division? It's can they beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs? Can they find their way back to the AFC title game? Can they potentially get to a Super Bowl for the first time in forever? Right? That's what the Buffalo Bills are playing for. The rest of the teams in that division are like, can we be bad enough to draft a good quarterback, or can we be just barely good enough to be the 7th seed and then lose in the first round? Okay, we'll see how it goes. AFC North, Baltimore Ravens. They're loaded once again. A lot of talent on that team. Lamar Jackson back again, going to do probably amazing things once again because he's Lamar Jackson, and that's just what he does. That's who he is, right? Like he just finds ways to do the impossible, right? And he's an absolute blast to watch because of that. With that being said, the rest of the division is going to be good. It's going to be tough. I'm not a believer in the Bengals just because that organization is so poorly ran. Trey Hendrickson still hasn't been extended. He's not showing up to any training camp or anything like that. They still haven't signed their first-round pick. He's down at Texas A&M working out. You look at the Steelers. They just extended T.J. Watt, paid him a lot of money. They're old. That's kind of the concern with the Steelers. I think this is a 10-win team. I don't think this is an 11 or 12-win team. Aaron Rodgers is 41. Cam Hayward's getting older. TJ Watt's been there a while. They just brought in Jalen Ramsey. Darius Slay is one of their other corners. He's like 35. It's just like they're old. That's kind of concerning about them. And the Browns, they don't know what they're doing at quarterback. That's their issue. Okay, so the Ravens should win that tough division once again because I do think it's going to be tough because Joe Burrow is in your division. And even though there's a lot of issues in Cincinnati, ownership's cheap, they're not signing players, they're not extending guys. Even though there are issues with that, they have Joe Burrow. And when you have a great quarterback in this league, it fixes a lot of your issues. Okay? Like we've seen it time and time again, right? They're going to have T. Higgins. They're going to have Jamar Chase. I believe Mike Gesicki is still playing tight end for them. So like they've got weapons. They're going to score points. The question is the defense, right? They lose Lou Anarumo. So there's a new defensive coordinator. I don't think they have a lot of talent on defense. Trey Hendrickson was by far their best player. Once again, he's not showing up until he gets his extension, led the NFL in sacks again last year. So Bengals, a lot of questions. Steelers, old. Browns, no good option at the quarterback position. The Real Jonathan Smith Show, sponsored by Holiday World and Splash and Safari today. Get down there. Go have a good time with your kids. School's starting back up soon. Okay, schools start back up soon. My wife's a teacher. Take your kids down there. Have like one good, final, big-time, fun day with your kids before you send them back to school. Go make one more memory before this summer ends. Holiday World, Splash, and Safari. I'm going to help you do that. Make that memory coming up at around 11:20-ish, probably a little bit before, probably like 11:18, somewhere in there. We're going to give away tickets in not this break, but the next one, which should happen around 11:18 somewhere around there. So Holiday World, once again, thank you for sponsoring the show today. We're going to give away tickets to help you make some memories coming up here in about 25 minutes or so. When we come back, top of the hour, 11 o'clock, AFC West, that is the next division I will be predicting. By the way, I reserve the right to change my predictions based on any injuries that happen in training camp. But who's going to win the AFC West when we come back at 11 o'clock?
Let's do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you head over there and subscribe, maybe watching on X__Jonathan Smith to follow me and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Tickets app. Now, today's show is sponsored by Holiday World and Splash and Safari. We're giving away tickets at the end of this segment. So coming up here in like 15 to 20 minutes, probably somewhere in between, we're giving away tickets to Holiday World and Splash and Safari, giving you a chance to make some memories. Now, NFL divisions, we've got, training camp started up for some teams. The Colts are going to start on Wednesday. Some teams only have like rookies in right now. The Colts aren't doing that. It's just straight up everybody Wednesday on July 23rd. And I can't wait to talk about Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones every single day. And I can't wait to talk about the update on the quarterback battle and all that great stuff. Debating, it's going to be annoying. That's okay, though. Doing division winners kind of projections. I like the Houston Texans to win the AFC South this year. I like the Bills to win the AFC East, and I like the Ravens to win the AFC North. That is where we stopped. The final division in the AFC is loaded. It is the best division in the NFL this year. It's the AFC West. The Broncos are going to be a really good football team. The Chiefs, obviously. The Raiders got a lot better, bringing in Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. Brock Bowers, year 2, going to be really good again. Okay, they drafted Ajayi out of Boise State, the running back, who is probably going to show up and be pretty impactful pretty quickly. Like they've gotten better. And then, of course, you have the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, everyone's favorite quarterback who hasn't really done much of anything yet. To be fair, he's been playing for the Chargers with bad coaches, right? They've got a good offensive line. The defense should continue to be pretty solid. We'll see. So the Chargers, they're an interesting team as well. The AFC West, though, I'm picking the Denver Broncos to win that division. They're loaded. They've just got a lot of really good football players, and I like picking teams that have a lot of really good football players because guys are going to get hurt, and you need really good football players around them to make up for it. Bo Nix was really good in his first year. I understand that, Jaden Daniels was kind of the rookie quarterback that everyone, fawned over, and rightfully so because he was really, really good. Bo Nix, though, not far behind him, right? Goes 10-7 as a starter, 29 touchdown passes, only 12 interceptions thrown, threw for 3,700 yards. It's really interesting. In his rookie year alone, Bo Nix is thrown for, he has a higher, he's thrown for more passing yards in a season than Daniel Jones ever has. He's thrown more touchdown passes in a season than Daniel Jones ever has. It's really, really impressive. Bo Nix already better than Daniel Jones. Amazing. So he had a really good rookie year. A lot of guys get better, right? From that rookie year to second year jump. That's what Colts fans are hoping for with guys like Leatu Latu and Adonai Mitchell. Okay, so Bo Nix should be better in year 2. Second year with Sean Payton, second year in the offense, second year in the NFL, all those things. And then the defense, because that was really kind of the calling card of Denver last year. Yeah, the offense was good. Cortland Sutton makes plays. Marvin Mims Jr., I like him. I don't know if you do or not, but I do. Smaller receiver, kind of, creates things in the slot. They bring in Evan Ingram, solid tight end option. Okay, the offensive line was good for the Broncos last year. Should be pretty good once again this year as well. So the offense is going to be fine, okay, because they've got a quarterback that they like, and they've got Sean Payton. The offense should be fine. Okay, the defense. The defense going to be really good once again. They had a good defense last year. Patrick Surtain, arguably the best cornerback in the NFL. He's back, won, defensive player of the year last year. They did a really good job of getting after the quarterback. Nick Benito, 13.5 sacks last year. He just kind of wreaked havoc against the Colts time and time again. Zach Allen, pretty solid on the opposite side, 8.5 sacks. Look, if you got a 13.5 sack guy on one side and the other guy's, he's going to get you 8.5, you feel pretty good about that. Okay, they bring in Dre Greenlaw, fast, sideline to sideline linebacker, a guy that I would have loved to have seen the Colts go out and get, but like that guy's been one of the better, linebackers in the NFL for quite some time now. They've got Riley Moss, opposite of Patrick Surtain, white corner. Love that. Probably shouldn't have made that signal when I said that. My apologies. Riley Moss, really good cornerback, opposite of Patrick Surtain. Like they've got just a lot of really good pieces. They're going to be really good on both sides of the football. And I like them to win the division because of this defense. I think it's going to be really good. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to be good. There's going to be a lot of people picking the Chiefs to win this division. But they're coming off another shortened offseason. They're a little older. Like Travis Kelce, not a young dude. Right? And we kind of saw that last year as the season went on. He just wasn't as impactful. I mean, the dude was 35 years old. 35 years old. Like, that's old for a tight end. Chris Jones, starting to get up there a little bit as well, 31. Like, those are two really important pieces that are starting to get older. And once again, they had another shortened offseason. That's less time to rest. That's less time to work on your game if you're a younger player. So, look, they're going to be good again because they have Andy Reid and because they have Patrick Mahomes. But their better players are starting to get a little older. Rashee Rice, you got to stay out of trouble, and you have to stay healthy. Xavier Worthy, he's got to come back a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. Noah Gray, they're going to throw him the football a little bit more. Is he going to be ready for an increase in the load? The defense, kind of young. We'll see. So the Chiefs, look, they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to win games. But I do think it'll take them a minute to get going because they're older and they had, another shortened offseason. Chargers, great roster. Love the roster of the Chargers. If you told me that they were going to win this division, then I'd say, yeah, I get it. Justin Herbert, they bring over Najee Harris, right? They draft Omarion Hampton as well, really good running back out of North Carolina. Ladd McConkey had a really good first season. Quentin Johnston, don't love that. Will Dissly had a solid year as a tight end. The offensive line, Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater, like two great tackles. Like they're going to be able to give Justin Herbert some time. So that's a good thing. The defense still have some pretty solid players on that side of the football. Derwin James Jr., Khalil Mack, right? Some older guys, but they should be fine on the defensive side of the football. They're going to be good once again this year. The question is, how good can they make the playoffs? And can they potentially win that division? I don't know. I don't like them as much as I do Denver. The Raiders, they got better. The issue is they're just not as talented as everyone else. I like Geno Smith. I like Max Crosby. I like the Pete Carroll hire. They hired a real adult, a guy who's been in some big-time football games. The issue is roster just has too many holes. They're not winning that division. As of right now, I would pick either the Broncos or the Chiefs to win it. And as of right now, I'm going to roll with the Broncos in their second year with Bo Nix. The NFC South, let's start there. The worst division in the NFL. The NFC South is just awful. I mean, like it's pitiful. It's just ugly, bad, terrible, whatever, adjective you want to use that means not good will fit with this NFC South. Okay, the Saints, no Derek Carr. They're going to start Tyler Shuck. We'll see if he's any good. The Panthers, Bryce Young came on strong there the second half of the season. But let's be honest, like the Panthers, come on now. Not a believer in them. It's going to be the Buccaneers once again winning that division. They've got the best quarterback in the division. It's Baker Mayfield, a guy who is a fringe top 10 quarterback in the NFL. So they're going to be good. If Michael Penix is good, then maybe the Falcons challenge the Buccaneers a little bit to win that division. But as of right now, I don't know how you look at that division. You don't pick the Buccaneers. NFC East, Washington Commanders. And look, everyone's going to pick the Eagles because they just won the Super Bowl and Jalen Hurts is awesome. And Saquon Barkley did a reverse hurdle over a guy. And now he's on the cover of Madden and all this kind of stuff. Great for them. With that being said, the Eagles, were by far the healthiest team in the NFL last year. And that's not going to happen again. The chances of that happening, starting the playoffs with all 22 of your week 1 starters healthy, probably not going to happen again. And so the reason why I'm picking the Commanders to win the NFC East is just because I expect for the Eagles to struggle with health a little bit more than what they did last year. They're just due to have a ton of injuries. Okay, now obviously if they stay healthy, then they'll win that division going away because they've got an awesome offensive line, a million guys who can rush the passer, good players on the back end of the defense, and they added a couple good linebackers in this draft class as well. So if the Eagles can stay healthy, then they will win that division. I don't think there's really any sort of question about it. Now, yes, the Cowboys, we'll see if they're any good or not. I don't think that they will be. And then, of course, the bottom of that division is going to be the New York Giants, who are going to be bad once again. Congratulations, Giants, on signing Russell Wilson. NFC North, I don't really know. This was the hardest division to pick. I took the Packers, though, even though I do think that you could talk me into really any one of these 4 teams winning this division. Okay, I think this is the safe bet. I like Jordan Love. I kind of know what I'm going to get from him. I think Matt LaFleur is a good head coach, right? They've got a ton of offensive weapons. The offensive line is going to be good. Once again, Matt LaFleur is an offensive head coach, but the defense has never been bad while he's been there. Okay, like they're going to be a very complete football team. Xavier McKinney's still there, your playmaker on the back end of the defense. There's some concern with who they're going to run at their corner after letting Jair Alexander leave. But then again, Jair Alexander never stayed healthy when he was in Green Bay. So they'll be fine there. The Lions, probably the best roster in the division. Offensive line is going to be good. Defensive line should be good again. The corner's good. The issue that they ran into last year is they just got hurt. Right, but they lose both coordinators. Aaron Glenn is gone. Ben Johnson gone to the Bears. That matters, especially when you have a guy in Dan Campbell who's clearly smart, clearly a very good NFL head coach, all those things. But he doesn't call plays, so they have a new play caller on both offense and defense. And play calling, it's important. It is. If you don't call the right plays, then it's tough to move the football, and it's tough to get stops. So, the new coordinators, how are they going to do? They're probably not going to be as good as Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson were last year. I expect them to take a slight step back, but still be a good football team that makes the playoffs, just not the best team in the NFC North like they were last year. The Vikings, they lose Sam Darnold. They lose Daniel Jones, which if you ask some Colts fans, it's a big loss. The question for them is, how good is J.J. McCarthy? Kevin O'Connell is going to have the offense, buttoned up, and it's going to look good. That they're going to make things easy on J.J. McCarthy, but how good is he off script? Brian Flores, he's going to put together another really good defense. That's just kind of what I expect from him at this point. You probably expect something similar from him as well. So how does the quarterback position look for the Vikings? If it's good, then they may win this division. But if J.J. McCarthy is a little shaky at any point in the year, then that could cost them. The Bears, to me, are the most interesting team in this division because they hired Ben Johnson and everyone's really excited about it. And all of a sudden, Caleb Williams is going to win MVP just because they hired Ben Johnson. Not really. It's probably not going to happen. But they should be better for it because I think Ben Johnson is immediately an upgrade over I can see his face. Terrible head coach. Matt Eberflus. There we go. He's going to be an upgrade over Eberflus. Okay, DeAndre Swift, solid option at running back. They've got good weapons in DJ Moore and Roma Dunze. They drafted Luther Burden. They also drafted Colston Loveland, right? That's a good tight end. They got really good receivers. The offensive line, though, there's some questions. Sure, they signed Joe Tooney. They signed Jonah Jackson, but offensive tackle, what are they going to kind of look like? They drafted a guy in the second round out of Boston College. How's that going to go? So there's some questions with the offensive line there. The defense, I'm not really sold on either. Dawa Dangbo is going to be a starter for them. That's not good. I like Montez Sweat. That's really it. when it comes to that defense. So a lot of questions. Jalen Johnson is one of the better corners in the NFL, but just too many holes on that defense. Well, I do find the Bears interesting. Are they going to win that division? Probably not. Probably not. Okay. Final division, and then we'll go to break and we'll give away tickets to Holiday World and Splash and Safari 317-228-1430. That's the number. Don't call yet because I got one more division to run through. But after this division, we'll give away those Holiday World and Splash and Safari tickets. NFC West, the Rams. Got to be the pick. Has to be the pick to win this division. Okay. The Cardinals, meh. I like Jonathan Gannon. I like Kyler Murray. The issue with Kyler Murray is he can't stay healthy. Hey, the 49ers, it's Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. People seem to like them this year. I don't really know why. The Seahawks, good football team, but Sam Darnold instead of Geno Smith, are we sure that Sam Darnold's better than Geno Smith? I'm not. And then you have the Rams. Just like, Sean McVay, probably the best head coach in that division. Yeah, I like that. Oh, but Jonathan, they lost Cooper Kupp. Yeah, it's fine. They just replaced him with Devontae Adams. The offensive line should be good again. Jared Verse won Rookie of the Year last year. He's gonna be good. Coming off the edge for him again this year, probably a little bit better, right? Braden Fisk, the other, edge rusher, or excuse me, Braden Fisk. My bad. The opposite edge rusher. He's going to be good again. Byron Young had a really good year a couple years ago. Kobe Turner is a really solid defensive tackle. I like their defensive line. Look at corner, Darius Williams, solid option. Okay. You look at safety, Cameron Curl, Cameron Kinchins, two really solid options, right? There's, aside from Jared Verse, there's really no stud on the Rams defense, but there's just a lot of good, solid players. And then you have the offense, which obviously Matthew Stafford, he's going to sling it. Kyron Williams, really good really good running back. Puka Nacua is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Devontae Adams needs no introduction. Tutu Atwell, pretty solid third option. Tyler Higbee, pretty consistent. And I like the offensive line that they have as well. The Rams should win the NFC West. And you should win some Holiday World tickets. We're going to give them away right now. 317-228-1430 for your chance to win tickets to Holiday World. 317-228-1430, a chance to make some memories before you send your kids back to school, because that's starting up here soon. Even if you do it during the school year. 317-228-1430 for your chance to win. We've already got a caller. Congratulations to whoever you are. More stuff on the NFL and the Colts when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Let's do this.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show. What's your name? What's going on, Brad? How are you? Thank you. I appreciate it. You're calling in for the tickets, I'm assuming? Yep. You are our winner. All right, Brad, give me 1 second. Let me pull this up here. What's your last name? All right. What's your email? AndrettiGlobal.com. All right. What's your phone number? All right. Date of birth.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Cool. Awesome. All right, Brad. You should get an email, brad.banker@andrettiglobal.com. You'll have to sign a waiver or something like that. After you do that, we will mail those tickets to you. Yeah, you got it. Hey, I hope y'all do, man. I really do. I like the Vikings. Kevin O'Connell is too good of a coach to not have a playoff win under his belt. So, um, I'll be pulling for y'all this year because Lord knows that the Colts are going to be terrible. Thanks, man. See ya. Oh, still not working. That's not good.
It may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Tickets. Shout out Brad for winning our Holiday World and Splash and Sport tickets. I'm assuming we're going to give more away tomorrow. So if you want a chance to win those, tune in tomorrow. We'll probably, I think we're giving more away. We are giving more away. So there you go. If you want your chance to win tomorrow, tune in once again. Now, man, Colts. Training camp starts up here on Wednesday. And are they going to be good? No. Under 7.5 wins. If I had to make the bet, that is honestly what I would take. I think this is a 6 or 7 win team. I'm just not a believer. Shane Steichen, fine as a head coach. I don't think he's a great one. I don't think he's a terrible one. I don't think he's like a game changer. Like he's not an Andy Reid or a Kyle Shanahan where I just kind of expect him to figure it out every single year and put together like a good product. Like I don't like the quarterback situation. Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, come on now. And so much of who you are in this league is who your quarterback is. Like if you just went through and you were on, Bet 365 or whatever, betting platform you like. If you just pick the team with the best quarterback to win every division, you're probably going to get most of them right. That's just how it works. It's how it works in the NFL. When you look at the Colts, they're going to have, at best, the third best quarterback in this draft class. In this division. As of today, I think they're the third best team in this division. The Texans are undoubtedly better than them. I will hear no argument that the Colts are better than the Texans. Okay? Like they're not. The Texans roster it's simply better than the Colts. They have a better head coach than the Colts do, right? Stroud and DeMeco Ryans, that is the best quarterback coach combo in this division. It is. And that defense is going to be nasty once again this year. And I also think that the Jaguars are going to be better than the Colts. This is the second year in a row that I've said that. Last year, I greatly regretted it. But this year, I feel a little bit better about it, bringing in Liam Cohen to be the head coach, right? Was formerly the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Trevor Lawrence is going to be better than Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. Either one of them. Okay, I certainly don't have to explain to you why Trevor Lawrence is better than Anthony Richardson. But he's also significantly better than Daniel Jones. Okay, Daniel Jones has never thrown for 4,000 yards in a season. Trevor Lawrence has done it twice, and he's played 2 less years in the NFL than Daniel Jones has. Daniel Jones hasn't thrown 20 touchdown passes in a season in 5 years. 5 years, it's a long time. Okay, the most touchdown passes he's thrown in a season in the last 5 years is 15. 15. That's not very good. It's not good at all. And I get it. He can run a little bit, but if the first thing you say about a quarterback is their ability to run, then chances are you don't have a very good quarterback. Lamar Jackson probably is the only exception to that. And guess what? Lamar Jackson has turned himself into a really good thrower of the football. Daniel Jones is not. Neither is Anthony Richardson. Trevor Lawrence, meanwhile, he's thrown 20 touchdown passes in a season twice, which I get isn't some like otherworldly number, but it shows that he has the ability to score touchdowns in the red zone when things are right. Okay? Daniel Jones hasn't shown that ability. He hasn't. Okay? Like, this dude's been in the league for 6 years. Got benched for Tommy DeVito. He's only played a full season once. He's either gotten hurt or benched every other year of his career. Okay? He's never won 10 games in a season. Hasn't happened. Oh, but Jonathan, he's won a playoff game. Best thing, Tim Tebow won a playoff game. Let me just steal Dan's line there. Like, that doesn't really mean much. Okay? The Colts are going to be the third best team in this division simply because their quarterback situation isn't good enough. And I like this Jaguars roster. Brian Thomas Jr. would be the best wide receiver on this Colts team today. He would have been the best receiver on this Colts team last year as a rookie. By the way, Chris Ballard passed on that guy. Okay, for Leatu Latu, who's been fine, I guess. We'll see if he's any better this year. Speaking of Leatu Latu, I think the Colts are kind of looking to him to be their best pass rusher. And, he had 4 sacks last year as a rookie. That's not very good. And, is he going to all of a sudden be like a 12-sack guy? Probably not. But you know who might be? Josh Hines-Allen, a guy who had 17.5 sacks 2 years ago. And guess who he plays for? The Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, they have a real, legitimate pass rush. They do. Between Josh Hines-Allen and Travon Walker and Eric Armstead, who plays defensive tackle for them. Like, they've got guys who can really get after the passer. They've got a quarterback in Trevor Lawrence who, when things are right, when the coaching is good, he can be a really, really good player. Simple as that. And then they've got, other good players around him. Like, they should be able to run the ball between Travis Etienne Jr. and Tank Bigsby. Travis Hunter, number 2 overall pick, should impact both sides of the football relatively quickly. They've got solid corners, Jerry and Jones. Darnell Savage is a solid safety. Like they've got good options on both sides of the football. And I think that they're going to be the second best team in this division. But that being said, I don't expect for the Jags to make the playoffs, and I definitely don't expect for the Colts to make the playoffs. Right? But that new hire for Jacksonville, because we've seen this time and time again. Successful offensive coordinator shows up, year 1, new quarterback, new system, shows up, and all of a sudden, that quarterback that they're coaching has a really good year. Sean McVay did it with Jared Goff in LA. Mike McDaniel shows up in Miami. Mike McDaniel, not a very good head coach, probably going to get fired after this season. But Mike McDaniel shows up in Miami and immediately elevates Tua. Like, it immediately happened. Okay, Kyle Shanahan shows up. Jimmy G, been a backup in New England. Gets into Kyle Shanahan's system. Boom, elevated him immediately. Ben Johnson. People are excited about the Bears this year. You know why? Because Ben Johnson's there. He's probably going to help Caleb Williams be good pretty quickly. And Liam Cohen is probably going to do the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. Now, that doesn't mean that Liam Cohen's, that doesn't mean he's going to be there for the next decade or anything like that. But it does mean that, Trevor Lawrence has a decent chance at being better than he was last year under Doug Peterson. By the way, we saw Doug Peterson do this. He shows up in Jacksonville year one with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence put together the best year of his career. And then Doug Peterson, just couldn't really cut it as an NFL head coach after that. And so, Trevor Lawrence slowly gets worse. Doug Peterson then gets fired. But we've seen a really good version of Trevor Lawrence. We haven't seen a really good version of Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, and I'm a big believer in betting what you can see. Speaking of which, I can see that Daniel Jones is better than Anthony Richardson, and he's going to be the starter week 1. That's going to happen, especially if Shane Steichen follows through on everything that he said. Okay, he said that he's going to pick the guy who is more consistent. Who's the more consistent of the two? Is it Anthony Richardson or is it Daniel Jones? Okay, and it's going to be Daniel Jones. Simple as that, right? Like this is a guy who, with all of his flaws, and there are many flaws, is a guy who completes a pretty high percentage of his passes. Okay, for his career, he's completed 64% of his passes. The touchdown to interception ratio is bad. It's less than 2-1. But hey, he completes his passes. And, that's something we haven't had here in Indianapolis these last 2 seasons with Anthony Richardson being the starter. So Daniel Jones, he's going to be the starter week 1 for the Colts. Will he last all season? Probably not. Because the guy's only played 1 full season so far throughout his 6-year career. So, we're going to see Anthony Richardson at some point during the season. The question is when. It's not if, it's when. And that really is one way or the other. We're going to see both guys this year, no matter what. Will Levis is out for the season. Who cares? He was going to be the backup one way or the other. I think Adam Schefter had what I think is a really funny tweet of how this injury, now poises, now sets up Cam Ward to be the starter. It's like he was going to start no matter what. So anyway, Daniel Jones, he will be the week 1 starter for the Colts. And, congratulations to Daniel Jones. The Colts are going to go 6-11, 7-10 with you as the quarterback, because this team isn't very good and this schedule is not as easy as it was last year, right? Like that's the thing about the Colts last year. They went 8-9 with a bad schedule. 2 years ago when Gardner Minshew showed up and had a really good season and the Colts were a swing pass away from winning the division and making the playoffs. The Colts weren't good they weren't good that year. They just had a really bad schedule that they got to play. And with the Colts this year, they're going to have a bad quarterback, whether it's Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. And they've got a not very easy schedule that they're going to have to deal with as well. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Obviously, I think this Colts team is going to be bad, and we're going to be looking around like, hey, when does college football start again? Indiana, they play Saturday. Can't wait to watch them play. And then on Sunday, you can take the time to run all the errands that you would normally run on Saturday during IU football. You can just run them on Sunday during Colts football, because this football team isn't going to be good. They're going to be bad. Like there's a decent chance that they start 1-3. If they lost to Miami, would you really be surprised? I wouldn't be. If Tua and them came in here, scored 38 points and won, that would not be surprising. And then they play Denver at home. Already highlighted how good they're going to be this year, right? They're going to be better than they were last year. And then they play at the Titans. They should win that one. And then they go to Los Angeles to play the Rams. You're not winning that one. It's not happening. We could look up this Colts team could be 1-3 through the first 4 weeks. And at that point, the reaction from this fan base is going to be quite entertaining. I want the Colts to be good, but I just don't think that it's going to happen with Daniel Jones playing quarterback. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, Pay us what you owe us. That is what the WNBA players are saying, and I kind of think that they're right to say that. I do, and I'll tell you why when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZQL Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Whoa, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
Yeah, sure thing. Say no fees or minimums on your Capital One checking account.
Wow, that's a keeper. So, where are you heading?
I'm off to spread the good news that Capital One helps people keep more money in their wallet with no overdraft fees.
Oh, you're the best.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy's Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe watch it on X __ Jonathan Smith to follow me there. You can also listen on the Indy Sports Ticket app. You can listen to the Dan Dockett Show there as well, which will start up here in about 20 minutes. Good to be back. I was gone last week on vacation. Had a great time on a cruise, Western Caribbean. I haven't talked about it much today just because I've had football takes that I've just been dying to get off all week last week. And, so I'll probably talk about it a little bit more tomorrow. Some of the stuff my wife and I did while we were on our cruise. Once again, we had a blast. Hopefully you had a nice week last week as well. The WNBA, man, just churning out stories. It's great. I really enjoy it. And, we had All-Star Weekend here in Indianapolis this last weekend. And, Caitlin Clark ended up not playing, and she shouldn't. Like, she's been banged up all year. I've got no issue with her sitting out of an exhibition game. And no one's talking about the exhibition game that is obviously the All-Star game. Everyone's talking about what happened before, where, the women show up and they're in these shirts that say, pay us what you owe us. And, everyone just erupting with takes, all sorts of stuff. And, how can these women who are in a league that has never turned a profit, how can they ask for more money? How can that happen? And it's a totally fair question because the WNBA, it has lost money every year that it has existed, every single year. With that being said, the WNBA is growing. When you look at the value of the franchises now in the WNBA, they're going up, and not slightly. They are going up by leaps and by bounds. Okay, by leaps and by bounds. The Las Vegas Aces sold for $2 million in 2021, but right now their valuation is somewhere between $290 million and $310 million. The league is growing. The value of the league is going up. The expansion fee for the Golden State Valkyries was $50 million 2 years ago. Today, the expansion fee is $250 million. The value of the league is increasing. They have a new TV deal coming their way, right? I believe that begins in 2 years. And when that happens, and ESPN has to buy the inventory that the WNBA is selling, and Amazon has to buy the inventory that the WNBA is selling, and so on and so forth, all the other TV networks that are going to want to get in on this Caitlin Clark action, guess what? It's going to be more expensive than it was the last time that they did their TV rights deal. It is, because they've got more inventory to sell, right? Especially as they continue to add teams. They'll be at 16 teams in 2031, in more places. And that's obviously more tickets to sell, more games to broadcast on live TV, all that kind of stuff, right? So the league is growing. And if the owners are making more money, which they clearly are, the Las Vegas Aces were once valued at $2 million, and now they're valued between $290 and $310 million. Obviously, the owners are making more money. Shouldn't some of that money go to the players? Should the revenue percentage, right, the amount of money that is generated, not the profit, but the amount of money generated, the revenue, shouldn't more than 9% of it go to the players? I would argue yes, because ultimately, more people are watching, more people are paying attention. And as I say that, all the Caitlin Clark people show up and they say, oh, well, it's because of Caitlin Clark, which is true. Okay, I don't know if you saw the numbers, but the average viewership of the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is playing is over 1 million, but during that stretch where she was hurt, it was at 478,000 or whatever that is, right? And yes, that is obviously a major difference, but the 478,000 people who stayed to watch the WNBA, even when Caitlin Clark was hurt, that number is higher than what it was 2 years ago before Caitlin Clark showed up in the league. So the league, the WNBA, it is growing. And if it's growing, then players probably deserve to be paid a little bit more. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that they need, the contracts that these NBA guys are getting, right? Where Devin Booker signed a deal where he's going to make like $70 million a year, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to make like $75 million a year. I'm not saying that WNBA players deserve that, but they probably deserve a little more than $78,000 a year. Okay, so I think I am with the players on this one. They should probably be paid a little bit more money than $78,000 a year, which is how much Caitlin Clark is making right now. Like, that's ridiculous. There is not another person or employee, because that's really what she is, as valuable as Caitlin Clark is, only making $78,000. Like, there's not another one. Simple as that. So I'm with the WNBA players. They deserve to be paid just a little bit more. Not a lot of bit more, just a little bit more. Okay. Colts. Training camp starts up on Wednesday. And let's just get it started now. Today is day one of talking Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson every single day. I've already put it on the record. Daniel Jones will be the starter week one for the Indianapolis Colts, because the way that this quarterback battle is taking place just greatly favors him. Okay, like, it's in practice. It's in a controlled setting where they're both in red jerseys where they can't really be hit, and they're both going to be asked to stand in the pocket and not really worry about the rush bearing down on them. And Daniel Jones is going to be more consistent in that environment. And that's what Shane Steichen said. He said, whoever's the more consistent of the two quarterbacks, that is who is going to get the job. And when you look at their careers, Daniel Jones has completed 64% of his passes. Okay? Like, that's pretty good, right? It's a solid number, right? He's had a couple seasons where he's been at like 67%. And then you've got Anthony Richardson, who's completed 51% of his passes for his career. If you're nice and round up, if you round down, then it's only 50%. Okay, like, this is a quarterback and Anthony Richardson who, just hasn't been very consistent. Can't hit the little short 7-yard out route and all those things. And the funny thing, or potentially the frustrating thing about Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson is, like, they're so different from one another. They can both they can both run. That's about the only thing that they can both do. But when it comes to them actually throwing the football, couldn't be any more different. Daniel Jones, very conservative. He's going to throw the ball short. He's going to try to give guys the opportunity to run after the catch. He's going to throw to the check down a lot. He's not really going to try to push the ball into any tight windows. He's not going to do anything like that. Like, Alec Pierce, I just know he's pounding the table for Anthony Richardson, because if Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback, then Alec Pierce is not going to have a good season, because Daniel Jones he refuses to throw the ball vertically. He refuses to throw the ball past the first down marker on 3rd and 8. And that is the really kind of frustrating thing. It is, okay? That is the frustrating thing with Daniel Jones. And then you look at Anthony Richardson, and the frustrating thing with him is total opposite, right? He never throws it to the check down. He's always trying to throw the football past the line of scrimmage. He's always looking to throw the ball deep over the top to Alec Pierce or Adonai Mitchell or whoever else is running down the sideline, right? He never wants to throw the ball underneath Josh Downs on, 2nd and 7, and you just need 4 yards to make it 3rd and 3. He doesn't do that. He's like, we are only throwing the football deep down the field. That is how Anthony Richardson operates, while Daniel Jones is the opposite. And I think it's much easier to coach a guy to be less aggressive than it is to coach a guy to be more aggressive. And that is the thing with Anthony Richardson, because he's going to play this year. Whether he's the starter week 1 or not, he's playing this year for 2 reasons. One, the Colts are going to be bad. They are. And no matter who the starter is, people are going to be pounding the table for the other guy at some point, because the Colts just aren't going to be very good. And Daniel Jones has played 1 full season in his entire career. He's either been benched or gotten hurt every other year. So we're going to see Anthony Richardson as the starter this year. And when he starts, that's the thing I'm going to be looking at. Like, is he more willing to hit the check down on 2nd and 8? Right? To set up 3rd and 4 and to make that 3rd down a little more manageable. And more importantly, can he make that throw? Can he make that short little out route throw to Michael Pittman Jr. or Josh Downs or whoever else it winds up being? Okay. Joe Thomas, Hall of Fame, offensive tackle, played, for the Browns for a long time. He was asked about this Colts quarterback battle. Basically asked, like, what happens if Daniel Jones wins the battle? What do the Colts then do with Anthony Richardson? Would they trade him? And here's what Joe Thomas had to say.
I think he definitely still has enough potential, and he's a good enough athlete. And I don't think the book has been written on him just yet, because there's a team out there that's going to look at him and say, hey, we think he fits a little bit better in the system we're trying to run. Maybe you're going to feature his legs a little bit more and giving him an opportunity to kind of work his way into the system that you're running, because there's plenty of teams that don't have that answer at quarterback right now. And he could be a good interim. I mean, if the Browns had an opportunity to have him this offseason in the room, I'm sure they would have added him, right? And have 6 guys or 5 guys in the room, depending on what are you considering Deshaun Watson on the team or not. But quarterback, it's the most important position in sports. You can never have enough of them. And when you got a guy like Anthony Richardson, who's got that crazy potential and just hasn't been able to tap it yet, has had some problems, undoubtedly, and he's recovering from shoulder surgery, but it's easy to take a flyer on a guy like that. But I don't know if the Colts will be ready to get rid of him, because I think we have seen enough Daniel Jones to know that he's probably not the long-term answer there in Indianapolis. And so really for Anthony Richardson, they may be a little bit down on him right now, but I don't think they're completely out on him. And I think they do want to give him another chance, because you've invested a lot when you pick a guy in the first round. And so I think they still want to make it work if it's possible, even though it's doubtful. So I think they're much more thinking that Daniel Jones is just that stopgap, and Anthony Richardson might get another opportunity at some point this season to get some playing time, no matter what happens with Daniel Jones, because I think they do want to really just give him one more chance before they kind of close the book on his Indianapolis Colts career.
Joe Thomas, former Cleveland Brown offensive tackle, right there, talking about this Colts position battle. What do they do if/when Daniel Jones wins the starting quarterback job? And I don't think they'll trade him, just because they're not going to get enough back for him. If they move him, they'll get like a 4th or a 5th round pick, and it's like, who, you don't draft a guy 4th overall and then give him up for a 4th or 5th round pick, especially when they're as young as Anthony Richardson is. Get ready for that line, because when Daniel Jones wins that job, all the Anthony Richardson stands, because there are plenty of them, all of the Anthony Richardson stands are going to be like, hey, he's only 22 or however old he is. He could still be 19 for all I know. And so like just get ready for that line, because you know that it's coming. But the thing that I found interesting about that clip, though, is Joe Thomas just kind of talked about Anthony Richardson, how I'm sure every general manager does, only 22, really athletic, all the things that we say about him all the time. But I think that where Joe Thomas was the most correct was talking about how Daniel Jones is not the answer for the Colts. We've seen this guy play in the NFL for 6 years. He's played 70 games, started 69 of them, and it hasn't been good. 70 touchdowns, 47 interceptions. When your touchdown to interception ratio as a starting quarterback is less than 2-1, that's bad. It's not like below average or no. Like that's terrible. He's 24, 44, and 1, and I get it. The Giants haven't been very good. But part of why the Giants haven't been very good is because Daniel Jones hasn't been very good. So when he's played, he's played terribly, been bad, and he can't stay healthy. Okay, gotten hurt plenty of times throughout his 6-year career, and this guy is not the answer. And for that reason alone, I do think that the Colts will hold on to Anthony Richardson. Probably talk themselves into like a Packers thing, where they're like, I don't know. I mean, the Packers sat Jordan Love for 3 years, and then, he showed up and he kind of figured it out. They sat Aaron Rodgers for 3 years as well. And, he went on to play really well. Maybe Anthony Richardson just needs to sit for a 3rd year, and he needs another healthy offseason where he can kind of work on his footwork and get a little bit better. And if that happens, then bang, there's our franchise quarterback. I doubt it. I don't think that is going to happen. But we'll see. Daniel Jones probably going to be the starter, and I am not looking forward to that at all. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to tune into The Real Jonathan Smith Show, brought to you today by Holiday World and Splash and Safari. We're going to give away more tickets to Holiday World tomorrow, so make sure you're tuned in, ready to go. Not too sure what time we're going to give those away at yet, but we are definitely going to give those away at some point, so make sure you're tuned in. The Dan Dockett Show coming your way next, noon to 3. Going to be a lot of fun, as I'm sure we'll continue to talk Colts, WNBA, players asking for more money, and all that other good stuff. Thank you again for taking the time out of your day to tune in, and I'll talk to you tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way next.